who bravely served our country. And the Joshua Omvig Veteran Suicide Prevention Act not only honors Joshua's service to his country, but ensures that all veterans receive the proper mental health care they need and deserve. So we're very pleased that we're here today to recognize Randy and Ellen's mom and dad and Sister Rachel. They helped take this personal tragedy out of it and took this pain and helped endless veterans and families. They've gone above just advocating for improved mental health services for VA, but also assisted many others, as I've already said. In a little while, we'll be presenting Randy and Ellen with the red line copy of the Joshua Omvig Suicide Prevention Act, which was signed by President George Bush, signed by Senator Robert Byrd. That is his signature on there, by the way. I verified that. Was pro tem that day, and of course, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. It has taken us over a year to get to this point, but we've gotten there. And I'm positive that this legislation will begin to save the lives of countless veterans. Fighting for Americans, fighting for veterans. I'd like now to read a short letter from my colleague Bruce Braley, who could not be with us today, and I think that you would appreciate that too. This is Dear Iowans from Representative Bruce Braley. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a serious illness that affects many of our veterans returning from combat duty. But for too long, our government hasn't taken PTSD very seriously. This experience of Randy, Ellen, Joshua Omvig puts a human face on the PTSD crisis. Joshua was a brave young man who served in the military police unit based in Davenport, which is in the 1st District that I represent. After he returned home, 11th tour of duty in Iraq, Joshua tragically took his own life. People who deal with PTSD, especially when it involves veterans, will tell you it is a hidden combat wound. When veterans like Josh return home from PTSD, they can be walking on the streets of your city, your town, your community, your family. In some cases, you don't even know they're suffering. Even more significantly, people suffering from PTSD are frequently the last to know they have a problem. The Josh Omvig Veteran Suicide Prevention Act is an essential and overdue step, ensuring our troops have adequate mental health care when they return home from combat duty. The need for this legislation could not be more urgent, as more and more soldiers are returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan, suffering from PTSD, TBI, and other combat-related mental health problems. The efforts of Congressman Boswell, Randy and Ellen Omvig, and the Iowa Congressional Delegation to push this legislation through Congress and into law is very near to my heart, as I've known the Omvigs for many years. Taking the scourge of PTSD through the Omvig bill means that veterans returning home, taking this on, won't have to face mental health problems alone. I'm very proud that my staff have been able to personally assist active military personnel from my district who are suffering from PTSD and weren't getting the treatment they needed. I'm very proud to have been part of the fight to renew our nation's commitment to our veterans' mental health by passing the Joshua Omvig Veteran Suicide Prevention Act into law. Signed, Representative Bruce Braley, Iowa 1st District. As I said earlier, we could have done it without you, Senator. Without you, Senator. Appreciate it so very much, and I'd like to invite Senator Harkin to share with us, and then Senator Grassley. Senator Harkin, I see Secretary Martin joined us. Thank you, and Secretary Michael Fitzgerald.
Leonard, first of all, thank you. Ms. Leonard, you drafted this bill and put it through the House and really gathered the forces together in Washington to really get this legislation done. We had a bit of a bump ride in the Senate. Chuck and I worked together. We got it done in the Senate too. We had different groups in the Senate, and so therefore we had a little bit of a problem there, but we got it done. But I just want you all to know that we get started with Leonard Boswell. And I'm delighted to be here with him today, back in his old stomping grounds here, state capitol. We were both elected to the Senate together. He here, me there. He was former president of the Senate. Of course, Chuck Grassley was both a representative and a senator. So this is your old stomping grounds too. Governor Culver, he just moved from one office to the other. during my own time in the military, the one thing that was drilled into our heads during training and later on, all the time I was in the military, was this one thing. You never leave a buddy behind. First thing and the last thing that's ever drilled into your head. That principle applies, of course, in the battlefield. Leonard knows about that. You all know that he's got 2 distinguished flying crosses. Vietnam, Bronze Star. Those of us who were pilots, I never even got one of them. But those people that flew helicopters, the fact that he's got 2 distinguished flying crosses, I'm telling anyone that's ever been a flyer knows what that means. That means he put it all on the line many, many times. Been 2 distinguished flying crosses. Quite a lot. So while that principle applies on the battlefield, it also applies, and it should apply, after our service members return home, especially if they have physical or psychological wounds. And that's exactly why we worked so hard to pass the Joshua Omvig Suicide Prevention Act last year. Like I said, Congressman Boswell did a tremendous job in the House. He rallied his fellow Vietnam War veterans and others from both sides of the aisle, passed the bill with a unanimous vote. In the Senate, as I said, we had a little bit of opposition, but Senator Grassley and I were able to prevail and finally pass it also with a unanimous vote. But make no mistake, this bill would not have passed without the personal engagement of Randy and Ellen Omvig. The Omvigs have become personal heroes to me and to many Iowans, and indeed a lot of people now across the country. They turned a personal tragedy into a determined campaign to ensure that returning war veterans receive the mental health services they need and they deserve. Last spring they came to Washington to testified before our committee in the Senate in support of the bill. They have been speaking out more broadly about the need for suicide prevention initiatives, peer support programs, and other mental health services for returning veterans and their families. I should also note that the Omvigs have devoted countless hours to helping veterans in navigating the VA system and in getting needed services. They have created a website in Josh's memory that has become a kind of an online community where veterans can speak out about their own experiences. So Randy and Ellen, when I think of your ability to rise above your own grief, to reach out to others, I'm reminded of those wonderful words from Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who once asked a question. He once said, "Life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others?" You have answered that question in a very profound way, and we are in your debt.
Thank you, Senator Harkin, and of course, the team worked effort on this. And Senator Grassley, thank you so very, very much, and please come share with us.
Chet Culver, Senator Harkin, Leonard Boswell, state officials, and the Omvig family. I'm honored to be here today. We all wish we didn't have to be here today, but the circumstances dictate that we be here today to honor you. I'm proud to have been the lead Senate Republican co-sponsor of the Joshua Omvig Veteran Suicide Prevention Act. Josh's loss was tragic. I think all Iowans who heard about it share in a small part of the family's sadness and grief. Nevertheless,